My name is Nancy Ebert and I'm she, her. I'm a school teacher by profession. I started teaching in Prince Rupert and then I came back and finished my career in Burnaby. I taught elementary school. I dabbled in administration, but I didn't like that because you have to deal with bad people all the time, you know, bad kids, bad parents. But anyway, and so then I went back to classroom teaching and I preferred the upper elementary, so grades 5, 6, and 7. Okay, and when I went to Prince Rupert, I didn't know anybody, and somebody on my staff said, why don't you come and audition for this play? So I did, and I got a part, and that was kind of the beginning of me doing theater, and I've done theater all the rest of my life. So when I retired, I was able to do a lot more theater, and also I got an agent, and I did some film and some commercials and stuff. ERMA BOMBECK is a humorist, American humorist. She had a newspaper column describing her life as a housewife and a mother when nobody wrote about the lives of housewives and mothers. And it started out very small, one column in one little paper, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And she had her columns in hundreds of papers, and she wrote a lot of books. But the other thing is that ERMA BOMBECK was a wife and a mother, and she prided herself on being a wife and a mother, and she loved her kids and she loved being at home. She was born in 1927. She got married in 1949. She had 3 children. She adopted her oldest child, Betsy, and then she had 2 boys, Mark, Michael, and Andrew. And she had a problem with kidney disease at a young age, which she inherited from her father and didn't really bother her for years. And then suddenly it did bother her, and so she was on dialysis and then was in the process of getting a kidney transplant when she developed complications, and she died in 1996, and she was 69 or something like that. Yes and no. I think that when I was in that kind of impressionable age where I might have been impacted by her, I was probably more interested in, you know, Bella Abzug and Gloria Steinem and people who were really vocal people in the women's rights movement. And ERMA BOMBECK was never kind of front and center in that. I thought, looking at her when I was of an age to become aware of her, that it was pretty remarkable that she was so successful in her career as a writer, writing for newspapers, as a woman. I thought that was kind of unique, and in that regard I was aware of her. I think that's such an interesting question because I think, first of all, if you say ERMA BOMBECK, people do not think feminist. They don't think about her as a great proponent of the women's rights movement, even though she was in the latter part. The fact that a feminist life for a woman isn't an either-or situation. You can be a wife and a mother and be at home and raise your kids and not go out to work, and you can still believe strongly and vehemently in women's rights. And I think that is a really, really important message that we all need to learn. I have 2, well, there's many, but one is never trust a doctor whose office plants have died. And another is, if the Virgin Mary had lived on our block, we would have said, of course she has time to go to the dentist. She only has 1 child. I think that because I do so much theater and I love acting, my biggest idols, my biggest icons are actresses of a certain age, because I'm of a certain age. So, you know, Maggie Smith. I'm not as old as Maggie Smith, and Judi Dench and Helen Mirren and Meryl Streep. People who are really, really talented and also seem to be very free to control their own destiny and the projects that they do. So, I think when I was growing up, and you know, even when I was in my middle years, women's rights were still very much a focus in our society, and we talked about them a lot, and we worked really hard to make sure that workplaces were equal, and to some extent that's become less of a focus. And I think that for young people, they need to know that these are the people that were working so hard for them, and also that there are still things that have not changed. The Equal Rights Amendment in the United States Constitution has not yet been adopted. And when you think about it, that's horrible. So that's it. Well, I think that we've spent 15 months in front of screens and seen some wonderful things. The first few months of lockdown, I watched all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones. Loved it. But that's a certain kind of distant viewing, and theater is intimate and personal and unpredictable, and if you're an audience member at a live theater event, you're an integral part of the event. And I think that's very exciting. So if you want to buy tickets to this play, it's on July 16th, 17th, and 18th. 7 o'clock on the 16th, 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock on the 17th, and 2 o'clock on the 18th. And tickets can be purchased at showpass.com. There will be limited seating.